Hello and welcome. My name is Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. Today I'm going big. So I'm going to be making this wall mural behind me with my Cricut Venture. And what we're going to talk about is tips and tricks for using transfer tape on large vinyl pieces. So I have some hacks that I really think you're going to like. Whether you have the Venture or not, you might be doing a large vinyl project, struggling with transfer tape, struggling with adding it to a wall, a sign, any project that you might be struggling with adhesive vinyl, transfer tape, and all that sticky stuff. I'm here to help. So let's talk about transfer tape and how to use it on huge, large projects to get the best results possible and make it even easier. So you may be saying to yourself, Angie, with these large pieces, do you really even need transfer tape? And I'm going to cover that. But I did need an example project just to shoot this video, and this was what I wanted to make on my wall. But I will address that because some of these I'm going to apply with transfer tape and others I'm not going to use transfer tape, so I can kind of see the difference and give you tips and tricks as well. First, you'll need to cut your removable vinyl. So I do recommend removable vinyl for a project like this where it's a wall mural. However, if you're doing a different project that's large and you're using permanent, like for a sign, same process would apply. So first we do need to cut it, and I'm going to use my Venture machine because I'm going to make a large wall decal, as I said before. It is going to be rather simple. However, I'm going to use this to demonstrate using transfer tape on large pieces of vinyl. So here I'm just loading a very large roll of vinyl into my Venture machine, and I go ahead and let the Venture machine cut the vinyl, as well as I'm using the auto cutoff blade to cut off that end. Then once that's done, we're ready to weed it and apply it to the wall in this case. So here's my vinyl, it's been cut. I went ahead and weeded it. This is the white, so you can't see that I weeded it. I'm also going to use a pink and aqua for the mural itself. This is the largest piece, however, so I wanted to demonstrate on this piece. Then you'll need transfer tape. Now, I recommend transfer tape that is as large as or larger than the piece of vinyl you're using. So this is the 24 by 12 foot Cricut transfer tape, and I made the decals 24 inches wide, so this should fit perfectly, which means we are going to have to line it up perfectly as well. Then I'm going to use tape to hold a lot of things down during this whole tutorial. So any kind of tape, this is a washi tape, you could use painter's tape, anything that won't damage the wall in this case is what I'm after. And then for vinyl, you generally use a scraper. I like to use something that is as large as my vinyl. So this is actually a quilting ruler, and it's long enough that I can use it across the vinyl itself. So what we're going to do is work in small sections. So I have this rolled up. So the end of this is all rolled up over here. And this same process applies no matter what the vinyl cutout looks like. As long as you have your vinyl and you have it weeded, then you can start with this process. And I'm going to move this so you can see just the corner here of this decal. So my next tip is to not just unroll this and start applying it. Leave it in the roll, and we're going to start lining it up. I haven't peeled anything back. Everything still has the backing on it. And I'm going to start lining it up with my decal. And what I'm going to do is add some tape. So I want to get this as straight as possible. The straighter it is, the better luck I'm going to have. So I'm going to use tape, and I'm just going to start lining this up, getting it straight, and sort of taping it down. You can even tape it down to the table. That way nothing moves as you're working this. So I went ahead and lined this up, added tape in quite a few places, and I'm going to start sort of pressing it out. Remember, it still has the backing paper on it. I'm just kind of testing, can I get this very, very straight? I'm adding tape as I go along. I'm not going to do this across the entire length because my table isn't that big, but if I can get at least a few feet laid out here on my table, I will know that everything is straight and I can get everything lined up. I have everything laid out the way I want it. I have tape in place across the bottom, across the one end, and across the other side that is kind of out of the frame. So now I know exactly how it needs to line up. Now I'm going to bulk up the tape. You can remove these pieces from down here. And we're going to bulk up the tape on this end. It's probably 1.5 to 2 feet from the end. And I'm going to bulk up and put 3 pieces of tape on that end on both sides. And now you can remove all the other pieces of tape except these 3 because everything's lined up. You can definitely save these, use them again. Like I might use them for the next decal, something like that. So I just usually stick them to the edge of my table. Then once that's done, we can peel back the transfer tape just until you reach this tape. So I'm just gonna kind of lay it over the tape. Once you get it started like all the way across, you can sort of peel it back on itself. You can even use a couple pieces of tape that we just took off of here to hold this piece down. It makes it easier to peel. Once that's laid back, I'm gonna remove these again, and then we're gonna cut this backing paper away. So this is the backing paper for the transfer tape. I still have the vinyl laying out on the table. You can, at this point, also tape the vinyl down in a couple places, just to make sure it doesn't move as we're laying everything down. All right, so I'm just using a pair of scissors, running them along this edge. And now the backing paper is off of just this first 1.5 feet, something like that. Now we want to lay this transfer tape back down. So I have my handy dandy quilting ruler here, and I'm going to put it under this transfer tape, right where that fold is. So now the ruler is under the transfer tape, and now I can slowly push the ruler, laying down the transfer tape, and you just want to watch, like, is it lined up like you expected it to be on the edge? Is it staying straight? Make sure you don't get any bubbles in it. So just watch it all the way. So this first part is, in my opinion, the most critical, to lay it down straight and even on this first foot or two to make sure it stays even across the whole thing, which is why I like the large ruler. And then when we get to this edge here, I'm gonna peel up this tape so I can lay the transfer tape back down. Now we'll just lay it the rest of the way down. And then take a look at it. Does it look okay? Are there bubbles in it? Did you get it laid down correctly? Is it straight? Mine looks amazing. So now I can continue with the rest of my decal. If it did not look good at this point, I would recommend probably trying to peel it up and starting the process over. So this first part, you want to get it perfectly straight, everything looking good before you continue on with the rest of your huge roll of vinyl. So now I'm going to peel these pieces of tape up, and I'm going to move everything over so we can do the next section. All right, I moved everything over. This is the edge of where, like, we've already applied here. This is the edge of that. So now I'm going to take the transfer tape. Remember, it's still on a roll. Kind of roll it up over there. Then I'm going to unroll some more of the vinyl. So now I'm ready to continue applying this across this surface. So now we're going to use the handy dandy ruler again, and I'm putting it under the roll of transfer tape. Let me move that over. So under the roll of transfer tape, right up against where I have it applied this, lay the transfer tape on top. Then you should be able to grab that backing sheet from the transfer tape. So I'm just going to grab it and start peeling it back. So I want to kind of get an edge all the way across here. And now my next hack is to roll your roll of transfer tape backwards. So I'm going to unroll this entire thing. And this is a very long roll. And I am going to turn it basically inside out. So I want to roll it backwards. So I'm just rolling it back up. The backing paper is still on it. It is going to be easier with it backwards like this than it is currently the way the transfer tape is rolled. So now I have it backwards and my ruler is still under there. So now what I can do is push on the ruler. So I'm gonna have the ruler in this hand, and I'm gonna have this piece of backing paper that I peeled off in my other hand. And I'm gonna push on the ruler and sort of pull on the backing paper. So your goal is to get the transfer tape down as soon as you pull the backing paper away. So you don't wanna go too fast, you don't wanna get too much off, and you wanna check every once in a while, like, are you doing it correctly? With it rolled backwards like this, it should just keep rolling forward. And you do wanna keep checking, is everything straight? Is it going down okay? Do you have bubbles? I do not. So I'm gonna keep pulling and pressing all the way across this. Now this is a 7-foot wall decal. So I'm gonna keep pressing it across and just making sure I keep it straight. And this is the final part. So this is the last part. Every once in a while you might wanna press it down a little bit better. So we'll just keep going like this all the way across the vinyl decal. You can cut this backing paper off every once in a while. I just sort of roll it up and get a good grip on it, but you can cut it off if you would like with a pair of scissors. Alright, so I am almost at the end. I'm going to go ahead and press this out to the very end here. And then I'm going to turn this back this way and I'll cut it off as straight as possible. I think I can cut it on one of these lines. And then I can cut the backing paper off, and I have my extra transfer tape backing paper for the transfer tape itself. And now you do want to make sure this is down really well. You burnish from the front and the back, just like if you were applying a small decal. This is just very large, so we want to still burnish from the front and the back. And then do not peel this back yet. We are going to lay this out on the wall first, just like this, with the backing paper in place. We are going to lay this out on the wall. That may be difficult depending on your decal, but it is the easiest thing to do, especially for this one. So let's head to my wall and see everything in place. My mural is 3 pieces. I'm gonna kind of test these on the wall first. So what I did was apply painter's tape to the mural piece. So this first one has that transfer tape over the top, and I'm gonna kind of locate it on the wall. I'm gonna kind of locate it, use the painter's tape to tape it into place, use a level to see if it's straight on the wall. I'm gonna keep repeating this process. Remove it, level it, locate it, get it in the right place on the wall. Now, mine needed to be level with my baseboard at the bottom. However, you might have to use a tape measure if you want it located exactly or you want it straight. A long level is very useful in this case. So once I had this piece where I wanted it, I taped the top piece of painter's tape down. Now this piece is 7 feet tall, so I used several pieces of painter's tape up and down to hold this into place. You might find for smaller pieces you only need 1 piece of painter's tape to hold it into place. So I got 2 pieces of my mural exactly where I wanted them and taped them into place really well with some painter's tape. And I wanted to make sure these were stuck on the wall really well so I could get a good idea if I liked the position of these. I even used a tape measure, made sure everything looked like it was in the right location and were exactly where I wanted it. Now my third piece is going to go over the top of both of these pieces. I just kind of held it up on the wall, made sure I was going to like the look, just to make sure I didn't need to move anything. I didn't actually tape it into place, I just kind of held it up to see if I liked it. Then we can start applying this. So I'm going to apply one of these pieces with the transfer tape, and I'm going to show you that one. And off camera, I'm going to apply the pink one without transfer tape, so I can kind of tell you which was easier for me. Because this video is about transfer tape, let's apply this white piece with transfer tape. So the process is going to be about the same as applying the transfer tape was. So I want about 1.5 to 2 foot at the top. And this I'm going to apply to the wall first. So you might have to adjust your painter's tape and get it in the right location. Then peel that top piece back from the backing paper. So you want the vinyl to stick to the transfer tape, and you want the backing paper peeled away from that. And then you can use a pair of scissors and cut that backing paper away and discard it. Then we're going to use that long ruler again. And I'm going to push that piece of vinyl up onto the wall. Everything's in location, everything's taped into place, everything should go up perfectly. You do want to stop right now, check, make sure everything looks good, make sure everything's level, and then continue with the rest of your decal. This first section is the most important. You want to make sure that it's located correctly before you continue. Then we're going to do it just like before. So I kind of rolled my vinyl up backwards, started peeling it back up underneath there, and added my ruler to the top. I pressed with my ruler from the top, pulling the backing paper down from the back, and just continued all the way down my wall in this case. Go slowly, make sure there aren't any bubbles. You can stop occasionally, look at it. You can even hold your level up to it if you think you've made a mistake. Feel free to go as slowly as you would like here. You can even use a small scraper to work out any bubbles as you move down. So I moved all the way down my wall, and mine stops at my baseboard. Now I do want to caution you here. If you're using this tutorial for a wall decal, your house is probably not square or level. In my case, I went down to the baseboard on one side, made it even. On the other side, there was probably 1/4 to 1/4 of an inch where my baseboard or my house wasn't level. And I just cut that off with a craft knife and a ruler just to make it look great at the baseboard. That is why I started this piece at the top. So keep that in mind. Keep in mind that your house might not be square, that your house might have some quirkiness to it. And so you may need to end on something like a baseboard or some trim molding where you can use a craft knife to recut the vinyl to make it look like it's perfect. And now our vinyl is on the wall, however it has the transfer tape applied. So we're going to peel that transfer tape off. So you're just going to start at the top and peel it down. And you can use a small scraper to scrape the vinyl down as you go if any bubbles form. I did have a few bubbles form as I went, and I just pressed them down into place. Now I do want to note here that you could use the backing paper that you saved from your transfer tape, or even the backing paper from your vinyl, and you could reuse this transfer tape. I didn't, I was kind of in a hurry, and I wanted to show you that you don't have to reuse it, that you could kind of roll it up. So as I went down the wall, I kind of rolled the transfer tape up. That way it wasn't as sticky and there wasn't as much of it to deal with. Now you could add backing paper as you go along, or just kind of lay the transfer tape out on the floor and put the backing paper on later. Either way would probably work. And then once I got to the bottom, I went ahead and trimmed off at my baseboard, made everything look perfect, went over everything with the scraper one more time, and this piece has been applied to my wall. So as you can see, working with large pieces of vinyl is definitely possible when you have a few tricks and hacks. So I went ahead and applied the rest of my pieces to my wall. So this was the white piece that I did on camera with transfer tape. I did this pink piece with no transfer tape. So because this is one solid sheet, you may be saying to yourself, like, why would I need transfer tape? I really don't have to have it. It's one solid piece. I will say that the white piece worked way better application-wise with the transfer tape on. I was kind of surprised myself. So it did work way better. However, I got the pink piece on the wall and everything was fine. And I didn't have to waste transfer tape or take that extra step of applying transfer tape to the top and then the extra step at the end of removing the transfer tape off. So it was quicker. However, I got more bubbles and had to press more bubbles out with this version. It was like the transfer tape helped me. In this case, it made the vinyl stiffer, so I was able to get the bubbles out easier than I was just adding the vinyl directly to the wall. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you can't avoid using transfer tape. If you have a wall mural and you're gonna have small pieces, you definitely can't avoid it. However, if you can avoid it and wanna avoid that step, it definitely is possible. And then I added the green piece as well to complete my wall mural. And now this one is done. So I just pressed everything down into place, got out any bubbles. There are very few imperfections in this. It turned out really, really great. Better than I was expecting, actually. And this is removable vinyl, so I can peel this off at any time. Now I did want to say, if you have a freshly painted wall, so I did paint this wall, but I allowed it to dry and cure for 72 hours before applying vinyl to the top. So you might want to do that. I would recommend it just so you don't tear up your wall. And then removable vinyl generally does have a life. So it usually says on the website where you purchase it or on the box, and it usually tells you how long you can leave it on a surface. So be sure to follow all of those as well if you're going to use this for something like a wall decal. Now these same processes can be used for something like large signs or any other large vinyl project that you have. So now I'm going to grab my Venture, I'm going to put it back on this wall, and stay tuned here on YouTube because I'm doing a full craft room reveal and you don't want to miss it. So now my Venture's in place and I'm ready to redo the rest of my craft room. So like I said, stay tuned. I have more ideas coming for craft room spaces and practical tutorials as well. So whether you're going to do a wall mural, a large sign, whatever, the tips and tricks I have for the transfer tape will apply. And I'm using smart vinyl in this case, the 24-inch smart vinyl, so I could cut it in my Cricut Venture. However, the tips and tricks that I'm sharing will apply with any vinyl. So any vinyl that you cut and do an extra large project, you can use the tips and tricks that I'm sharing in this video. So I do hope it helps you. If you have any questions about anything we've covered, drop it down in the comment section, ask away. If you like this video, if it helped you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.